The living room on Maple Ridge Drive smelled of vanilla frosting and expensive champagne, the kind Wesley always insisted on for special occasions. 32 candles flickered on the towering white cake Constantia had ordered from the upscale bakery downtown. 32 years of marriage for Jose and Constantia Brennan. 32 years of the carefully curated family portrait they presented to the world. Balloons in metallic gold and cream floated against the ceiling, catching the light from the chandelier. Guests, neighbors, old college friends, a few of Nadia's influencer contacts, milled around with plastic flutes, laughing at rehearsed anecdotes about the early days. Viola stood near the sliding glass doors that opened onto the backyard, arms folded tightly across her chest, the familiar sensation of being slightly out of focus settling over her like damp fog. She wore the navy dress her mother had picked out for her 3 weeks earlier. Something simple, darling, you don't want to draw attention. And the pearl earrings that had once belonged to her grandmother. The same grandmother whose trust fund had mysteriously dwindled over the years, while Wesley's startup dreams were funded and Nadia's European photo shoots were bankrolled without question. She had turned 32 3 months ago. No celebration, no cake. Just a generic card slipped under her bedroom door at 7:03 a.m. while she was already up making coffee for everyone else. Happy birthday, darling. We love you. The same message, the same loopy handwriting, the same envelope she'd received every year since she was 7. The summer her parents first sat her down on the living room couch and pointed across the street. That man is dangerous, her father had said, voice low and final, finger aimed at Theodore Ashford's quiet Victorian house with its tidy flower beds and the porch light that burned every night. Unstable. Promise us you'll never speak to him. Cross the street if you see him coming. We're protecting you, Viola. She had nodded, small and obedient. For 25 years, she had crossed the street, kept her eyes on the sidewalk, pretended the house with the green shutters didn't exist. She had learned to be invisible in her own home, middle child, middle grades, middle everything, while Wesley's every arrest was hushed up with money and apologies, while Nadia's late-night meltdowns were met with sympathy and plane tickets. Viola paid rent on time, cooked dinner when her mother claimed migraines, drove her father to every specialist appointment, folded laundry, answered calls from creditors, and never once raised her voice. She told herself it was love. She told herself she was the lucky one who had a roof, food, family. But 3 months ago, while unloading grocery bags in the garage, she'd overheard her parents through the thin laundry room door. "Transfer the deed to Wesley before Viola starts asking questions," Constantia had whispered, voice tight. "She's too smart. She'll figure it out eventually." Viola froze, carton of milk trembling in her hands, the garage light buzzing overhead like a trapped insect. Tonight, she would stop pretending. The slideshow began innocently. Viola had volunteered to run the projector. "Something sweet for your anniversary," she had said, with a smile that never reached her eyes. Guests settled onto the sectional and dining chairs dragged in from the kitchen, murmuring approval as baby photos of Wesley and Nadia filled the screen. Gap-toothed grins, first steps, beach vacations. Viola's face appeared only once, a blurry corner of a group shot, half obscured by her brother's shoulder. Then, the music changed. She'd swapped the playlist at the last second. The cheerful acoustic guitar gave way to slow, ominous piano notes she had chosen deliberately. A new slide appeared. A faded Polaroid, young Constantia, visibly pregnant, laughing on a park bench beside a younger Theodore Ashford. His arm was around her shoulders. Date stamped on the back in faded ink, 9 months before Viola's birth certificate. A ripple of confusion moved through the room. Someone coughed, a flute was set down too hard. Viola clicked again. DNA test results, printed in stark black and white from an anonymous kit she'd mailed to a P.O. box 2 weeks ago. Jose Brennan, 0% genetic match. Constantia Brennan, 0% genetic match. Theodore Ashford, 99.9% probability of paternity. Her mother stood abruptly, wine sloshing over the rim of her glass. "Viola, what is this?" Viola's voice came up steady, almost gentle. This is the truth you've hidden for 32 years. She advanced the slides with the calm precision of someone who had rehearsed this moment in the dark for weeks. Next, a copy of the amended birth certificate, forged signatures, altered dates, hospital records showing Constantia adopting an infant who never been in foster care. Bank statements followed. $180,000 from grandmother Ashford's trust fund, intended for her only child, drained in installments over 15 years into accounts tied to Wesley's failed app, Nadia's personal brand, and Jose's gambling depth. A 2018 court document declaring Viola mentally incompetent to manage her own finances, signed by Constantia and a doctor who had seen Viola exactly once. Used to claim disability benefits in her name while running up credit cards she never touched. Then the audio. Viola had hidden a small recorder in the kitchen fruit bowl for weeks, in the car glove compartment, under the couch cushions. She played the snippets now, volume low but clear. Jose's voice. She thinks she's one of us. Let her keep thinking. Constantia, softer. As long as she stays quiet and useful, we're fine. She pays rent, she cooks, she drives. Why ruin a good thing? Wesley, laughing. She's basically our free maid. Why give her anything when she'll never ask? The room had gone deathly still, except for the hum of the projector and the distant clink of someone setting a glass down with shaking hands. Viola turned to face them. Her fiancé Jace stood near the back wall, arms crossed, eyes on the floor. When she'd first shown him the Polaroid 3 weeks ago, he'd sighed, patted her shoulder. You're overreacting, Vi. They raised you. That counts for something. Tonight, he looked smaller, caught in the same frame he had refused to leave. 25 years, you told me the man across the street was a monster. You made me cross the street, avoid his eyes, pretend the house with the green shutters didn't exist. I had learned to be invisible in my own home. Middle child, middle grades, middle everything. While Wesley's every arrest was hushed up with money and apologies, while Nadia's late-night meltdowns were met with sympathy and plane tickets. Viola paid rent on time, cooked dinner when her mother claimed migraines, drove her father to every specialist appointment, folded laundry, answered calls from creditors, and never once raised her voice. She told herself it was love. She told herself she was the lucky one who had a roof, food, family. But 3 months ago, while unloading grocery bags in the garage, she'd overheard her parents through the thin laundry room door. And I finally understand that you were using my ignorance to control me and manipulate me. Speaking of manipulation, where is Jace? Viola scanned the room, her eyes finally landing on him. He was hedged toward the back door, his phone pressed to his ear. Jace was still talking on his phone, probably texting his own exit strategy, but she called out to him. And Jace, I showed you the Polaroid 3 weeks ago and you dismissed me. You stayed in that frame that you refused to leave. She turned back to her parents. 25 years, you told me the man across the street was a monster. You made me cross the street, avoid his eyes, pretend the house with the green shutters didn't exist. I had learned to be invisible in my own home. Middle child, middle grades, middle everything. While Wesley's every arrest was hushed up with money and apologies, while Nadia's late-night meltdowns were met with sympathy and plane tickets. Viola paid rent on time, cooked dinner when her mother claimed migraines, drove her father to every specialist appointment, folded laundry, answered calls from creditors, and never once raised her voice. She told herself it was love. She told herself she was the lucky one who had a roof, food, family. But now I know the truth. Viola stepped forward, her eyes meeting her father's gaze. You told me that he harassed you, but the harassment charge was dismissed. I checked the court records. You filed it 3 days after you found out you were pregnant. You changed my birth certificate, claimed me as yours and Joe's, and spent my inheritance keeping Wesley out of bankruptcy and Nadia in designer clothes. You declared me incompetent to control every dollar. You didn't protect me. You erased me. She turned to Josena. You gave me a home, a family, everything. She scanned the room again. Her eyes met Jace once more. You gave me lies. Viola's eyes were dry, her voice even.
Theodore never stopped trying. He sent birthday cards every year, cards you intercepted and threw away. He set up the trust fund you drained. He watched me grow up from across the street because you threatened him with more charges if he came near me. He waited 25 years for me to see the truth myself. She clicked to the final slide. A recent photo of Theodore Ashford, gray-haired, kind-eyed, standing in his garden among roses he still tended every morning. Below it, text she had typed in simple black font. "I'm done being invisible. I'm done carrying her secrets. Police have already been notified of the fraud, forgery, and financial abuse. The house is under lien pending investigation. The accounts are frozen. This ends tonight." Sirens sounded in the distance, faint at first, then growing closer, red and blue lights beginning to flash against the front.